Homophobia.
Tyra,
You guys need to
we're
express
tired of all your bitching out there.
Hey guys, well, welcome to the podcast. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge Drag Race fan. I love drag. And so my intro is actually, I think the drag queen's name is Mystique. I might have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's her. And she tells Tyra Sanchez, she's like, Tyra, we're tired of all your bitching out there. And when I first heard that, I was just like, I died so much because I just feel like that's kind of my vice, or this my aesthetic, I guess, on vegan Twitter. If you're from vegan Twitter, you might know I always just feel like everybody's like, Tyra, shut the fuck up, we're tired of you bitching. And I just feel like this podcast is just a way for me to kind of rant and get my feelings out. I don't know, I just feel like Twitter is 140 characters, and maybe that's right or maybe that's wrong. I'm not sure, but I just feel like you can only express yourself so much in that short amount of words, and you kind of get to edit it and make it fit what you mean more, so it offends people less, but then it also limits your ability to just be authentic and learn from your mistakes. And I think that's something that we as a society just don't want to happen anymore. I think the biggest lessons that you could ever really get is from making mistakes. And I just think we live in a very, you have to be perfect from the time you're born society. And I think that's BS. I think we all have problematic things that we hold. I'm not talking about racism or homophobia or anything like that. Not something super awful, you know what I mean? Or being ableist or something. But I just feel like we might all just have controversial, I guess problematic has just become such a, no one really actually knows what it means. And we all have our own unique definitions of what it actually is. So I just feel like we all have our own controversial topics and opinions that we really need to let out and kind of express ourselves that way, because that's how people learn, and that's how you learn when you get challenged. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody can relate to this specific example. When you are arguing with someone, let's say online or in person or in a debate or with your teacher, or even just with your credit card company or something, and you guys are arguing back and forth, and then you have that kind of realization when you're like, you know what, my argument isn't exactly valid, and maybe I am wrong, or maybe parts of what I'm saying is wrong, or maybe I'm not getting my point across perfectly. Or you might have that realization that person was so dumb. They were so stupid. And I'm just kidding. You shouldn't be. I feel like I have to apologize for everything I say, or people are going to be like, Tyra thinks people are dumb, cancel her, or Tyra makes podcasts and says that everybody who doesn't agree with her is stupid. I don't know. I just feel like people take, especially me, I don't know what it is about freaking me, but people take what I say, twist it, and turn it into something completely different. I don't understand why people I know I'm going off on a tangent. I'm totally changing subjects, but before I lose this train of thought, I don't understand why people think everybody is malicious. Why do we think oh, sorry, my notebook fell over, and I'm not even on task of what I said I was going to start talking about. But why do we always assume that everybody is trying to cause someone harm, or is always trying to be evil, and malicious? I mean, you can tell if someone's tone is snarky or rude or something like that, that's a little different. But I just feel like I could say the most innocent thing, and this person would know that I come from a genuine, loving place, that I don't hate people, that I don't hate, you know what I mean? Just I'm not an evil person, and they just treat and want to turn what you say into something so evil and then like block you. I just don't get it. Like, for example, one time I was talking to this girl. Actually, I don't think they identify as a girl. I'm pretty sure it's like them. But one time I was talking to them, and I'm not saying that to be like fucked up. Sometimes I have to just say it out loud. Like, oh, that's not like girl. Like, even if they might look like a girl, I guess you can't even really look like a girl. I'm sorry. But I sometimes have to say it out loud. Like, that's not what you're thinking. You need to use the correct pronouns. And sometimes when I say it out loud to myself, I don't know, it like sticks in my head more. I don't know. It's just me. Ignore me. I'm just saying my train of thought. But I was arguing. I wasn't even arguing with them. I think I posted something about, I forgot what it is, and I don't want people to try to go find it and like start drama, but I posted something, and then this person got mad at me and twisted it into something way bigger, and I was just like, are you serious right now? Are you really trying to turn this tweet into something you're completely taking out of context, assuming that I am being malicious? Like, why do we assume that people who, I mean, like, I feel like I don't come across as evil or like malicious. Why do people just think and assume that I'm being malicious? I don't know. I feel like as a society, we just approach everything as this person's out to get me. And I think that's comes a lot with like having everything be on social media, and you don't really have like the tone of voice in that tweet. You kind of read it how whatever mood you're in. So that person might have read my tweet in like this evil, malicious tone in their head, when I might have meant it in a sympathetic or empathetic or like, I don't know, a completely different tone than what they might have pictured it. But that's their reality, and like that's their perception of me now. And it's just based out of thinking people are just malicious. I don't know. Different tangent. Anyway, coming back full circle, why I started this podcast. I don't even know if that's what I was talking about. But I started this podcast because I kind of just wanted to vent and just have a place where I don't really feel so trapped. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, if you're from my Twitter, you know that I just post these long threads, not to be like annoying, just because one, I want everything to be as factual as I can, and I want to get any disclaimers out of the way. I want people to be informed when they're done reading a thread of mine. I think I'm gonna burp, and this bag of Ruffles is staring at me in the face like, bitch, just eat one Ruffle. And I'm like, no, I need to eat a carrot anyway. But anyway, I just feel like I would like, if I wanted to say something, I guess just not really like I guess more of like a hot take. If I wanted to say something kind of controversial, it's hard because people aren't going to want to read your full 6-page or 6-tweet thread about your opinion. They're going to read the first tweet, disagree with it, and type their think page and like put little like Tyra the Taurus and then like put your name in like stars, because I guess like, I don't know, you know when people do that where they like put your like username and then put the little stars as if it's like really triggering people. I don't get that. I mean I know people are gonna say, I guess people don't want the people with that @ to come and attack them for their opinions, but then what's the point of tweeting it if you don't want people's feedback? Okay, anyway. That's why I started this podcast, and I just kind of wanted to just have a place where this is my opinion and I'm gonna share it, and I want to find other people who agree with me, and I want to find other people who disagree with me, and I want to be able to find that balance where we can come together as a society and say, okay, this is your opinion, this is my opinion, here, what are we going to do to come up with a solution? And I think there is beauty in opposition. I mean, so much to the point where I'm not talking about Republican versus like Democrat, where you're literally voting against my right to exist peacefully. But I mean, if we have different hot if we have just different hot takes that aren't like super problematic, I think there's something amazing in coming together and being stronger in your opinion or learning from that opposing opinion. Like either you come out of that argument thinking, like I said, that person's dumb or stupid, and I'm stronger in my opinion now because I heard the opposite side and I know that I can, you know, combat that counter, I guess, argument. And now you're a stronger debater and now you're stronger in your opinion because you listened to the opposing side, realized that it just really wasn't for you, and it made you stronger because you actually listened to the arguments made against you and you still came out with your truth. And I think that's so beautiful. Or you could come out and your truth is completely different now because you listened to an opposing side. I mean, for example, when I went vegan, I was one of those people that were like, being vegan is anti-indigenous because how can I tell an indigenous person that they can't eat meat? Therefore, that somehow explains why me, Tyra, living in a suburb of California, can't go vegan because this other random circumstance that's not yours exists. And I find that happens a lot on Twitter where people will say, I can't go vegan because food deserts exist when you yourself don't live in a food desert. And I always find that people who are making more money than me and have more than me and have more access to things than me are usually the people still complaining about veganism. Like, bitch, I have $56 in my bank account to my name and I'm still vegan. Meanwhile, you're making like what, 6 figures? Like, I don't know if anyone knows this, but Chrissy Teigen blocked me on what was it? Twitter. Cause I think I said something along the lines of, I was calling her out basically on how she was kind of saying that veganism was like this extreme privilege or something. And I think I tweeted like, isn't it sad when like your favorite celebrities kind of just like bash veganism, even though they make so much money and like they could do it themselves, but they're like speaking as if they are like underprivileged or something. And I don't know if that's exactly what I said. This was a while ago, but then someone asked me who I was talking about and I said, oh, Chrissy Teigen. And then all of a sudden, and I literally called this bitch one of my favorite celebrities. I said, I know for a fact I said, isn't it sad when your favorite celebrities or something along those lines? Favorite celebrities was definitely involved. And like, this bitch blocked me. I was so sad. I was like, no. But now I don't really care for Chrissy Teigen, to be completely honest. And I just find that I'm starting to become more and more like bored with celebrities and the extreme amount of wealth that they have, as people are just like dying on the streets and you have like a 10-bedroom house. Why would you ever need that? I don't know. I'm starting to become just more and more over this like wealth problem that we have in this country. Wow, I love how I just completely, now I'm all of a sudden talking about economic shit. And I was supposed to be talking about why I started this podcast, but I don't know. If you're getting a vibe of how I am as a person from this first episode, I'm usually a little bit more structured. The reason I kind of recorded this podcast a million times was because I had like each sentence planned, and I'm going to talk about this topic for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to talk about that topic for another 5 minutes. And although those like guidelines and structures work for me, I'm a very big like planner in my head. I just wanted this first episode to be a little bit more authentic. Although now I just feel like I went off on a huge tangent of controversial stuff. But like, I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about what my podcast is going to be, like what I'm going to cover and what kind of things you guys can expect. I was supposed to start off this episode by telling you which kombucha I was drinking today. And obviously the title of my podcast is called Kombucha Hour, and every episode I'm going to have a new kombucha and kind of just tell you what it is, like what brand it is and how it tastes, because I love kombucha. I think it's an amazing probiotic. It can be a little high in sugar, but like who cares about that? You know what I mean? But I kind of just did like a take on happy hour and kind of called it kombucha hour, because I feel like kombucha is like a good like healing, and I want this podcast to be more of like a safe like space. I'm trying to make like a deep connection to like kombucha and like womanism and something, and it's definitely not working, but I just wanted to do just like a spinoff of like happy hour, but it's like kombucha hour, and like we healthy in this bitch, clearly, since I'm staring at this bag of Ruffles that I'm definitely going to devour as soon as I'm done recording this podcast. But today we are drinking the GTS Pure Love Kombucha. It's the winter edition, and it has blood orange, hibiscus, and rose in it. And so far, I'm actually tasting a lot more rose. Ew, my voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm starting to get nervous as I'm like thinking about this podcast for some reason. And like my voice always breaks when I get nervous. So anyway, I definitely taste more rose in this than blood orange. But it's pretty good. It's like a nice floral, but not like too rosy, like the actual rose flavor that they have. And I'm drinking it out of a wine glass. I don't know. I drink pretty much everything out of wine glasses because it just makes me feel fancy. Yeah, so there's that. So just to go into kind of what you guys should expect from the podcast is kind of what I want to end on. I definitely have this series in mind that I'm going to do, that I've already contacted a couple of people. I'm going to do this controversial vegan series where I interview a bunch of different big name brand, not big by any means. I mean, I'm not like a super big celebrity on vegan Twitter. I mean, you have people who have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of subscribers, or I guess followers. I'm definitely not that. But as far as like our small little tight knit vegan community, I'm going to try to interview as many people as I can. And I definitely have a few interviews from people that I've already confirmed, which I'm so excited about. Kind of different vegan Twitter people that either have been canceled, I guess, not canceled for like, not like Tom Lee Walker canceled. Like I definitely am not going to give someone like that a platform, but I mean people who we've kind of just deemed canceled or problematic or extremists. I think more extremist is the route I'm going for. A lot of the vegans that people think are really extreme, I want to kind of talk to them and see where their brain lies. I always think of myself as someone that's kind of in the middle. I don't fit in with apologist vegans, and I definitely don't fit in it with the super like extreme uptight vegans either. So I feel like I'm a voice of reason for the most part. I want to do just like a series where I interview a couple of people, kind of, I mean, and I want to go into it kind of unbiased, so I'm going to tell them straight up that, hey, I'm going to go in, and if there's something you don't want me to talk about, this really isn't the podcast, just not to be messed up, but, I mean, unless it's something like super personal or whatever, but I want this to be a place where we are able to dissect those hard topics that people don't want to talk about, because I think there's so much growth in that. So if I think they did something problematic or fucked up or something I just want clarity on, I want to know why that happened and where your brain was at. And I guess people are, I don't know. I always feel like I can hear the opposing opinion, I guess, of people in my head, where people are going to say you're going to give problematic or awful people platforms. I don't necessarily know if that is something that I'm doing. To be completely honest, I think it's something that is could potentially be good. And I also think it's something that potentially couldn't be good. I'm going to be completely honest. And I don't know. It's a risk that I'm going to take because I've always been the type of person that wants to understand why someone is the way that they are. I'm not talking about like rapists or people who are like, just like extremely awful people. But I mean, like, why do you have that view? Or why do you think that of fat people? Or why do you think that of, I'm trying to think of examples, or like sex workers or things like that. Like, I want to understand why people are so stuck in their opinions that either sometimes I agree with or I don't. And so I feel like that series will be a good way to kind of, I burped, I'm sorry. I don't know. I just feel like that series would be kind of productive. And I'm not really, I feel like I made it sound way scarier than it is. I'm not just talking about controversial, canceled vegans. I'm more so talking about vegans with a lot of influence, vegans that do a lot of activism that people might not agree with. I'm not really so talking about this is awful things. I'm more so talking about like controversial things. That controversy doesn't always have to be negative or bad, or I'm not automatically like giving these awful people a platform. They're not awful people. They just have differing opinions. And I'm not so saying that not all, I don't know. It is what it is. You can like it or you cannot. And I think that's just kind of a thing that I'm going to have to learn about, is I can't sit here and like over explain myself. It is what it is. It's going to happen, and you can like the episode or you cannot. And I also just want to say that, like, I don't know, you don't always have to agree with everything that I say, and you don't always have to disagree with everything I say either. I mean, you might like one episode of my podcast and hate the next episode. I mean, my ultimate goal is to never be hateful or hurtful. My ultimate goal is to always spark some kind of productivity out of differing and opposing opinions, and how we can come together and find some type of actual working solution and middle ground. So there's that, and I'm excited about that. But as far as like topics, I also want to interview like hunters. I have a few friends that, I guess not really friends, I have like a few people that I know that hunt as like a sport. And then I also know of like one of my really good friends that hunts as a way to actually eat meat instead of like factory farm meat, and also like believes in veganism. So, I don't know. I just feel like their perspectives are so unique, and we also sometimes I'll hear a lot about like factory farms, but hunting is not something that we typically talk about. So that's another controversial topic that I want to dive into. I also want to get into my views on white veganism, because I feel like I have spoken a lot about white veganism before in the past, and my opinions have definitely changed since I first went vegan like 2 years ago, I think now. And I also gained some clarity of what Black veganism is, and I think a lot of people don't know what that means. And I think that also ties into like intersectional veganism, and that's another topic that I'm definitely going to dive into, because it's also another topic that's controversial. See, like, it's a controversial topic, but that doesn't mean that it's negative. Just means that like there's a lot of differing opinions, and that's kind of my goal. I'm hoping that I'm getting that across, as like I'm not trying to talk to like rapists like and stuff like that. I'm not going that route of like controversy. I'm talking about what is white veganism? What is black veganism? Should we be intersectional with our veganism? Should the focus be animals? Is this a human rights movement as much as it's an animal rights movement? It's all controversy. It's different. A lot of people have differing opinions, and that's kind of where I want to get into. I'm also going to talk a little bit about philosophy. Just like the study of like reality and like nature. There's a topic that I really want to talk about, and I think I might do it next week. Is called Freedom to and Freedom from, It's a topic that I remember learning about in 7th grade, where we kind of have it's like with different, you can pretty much apply it to like your parents, you can apply it to your government, your teacher, any kind of authority figure like your boss, or just being a coworker or being a boss. And it's kind of like, I don't want to get into it too much because it's a topic that I want to dive more into, but it's like, for example, if I have free lunch at school, I have the freedom to have free lunch, but I also have the freedom from having to pick what I want to eat for lunch. It's different kind of things like that, as for an example. And I just think that that's something that is interesting and that we can talk about further. And I think that that might be a topic that you guys would like, that's a little bit different, and maybe something that you haven't heard about. And then also, I'm a nutrition major. If you guys didn't know that, I'm studying dietetics. So I kind of want to talk about different plant-based studies and books and different documentaries, like What the Health, and the controversy kind of surrounding whether all the things being said in the documentary were factual. I know a lot of like quote unquote doctors are kind of what's the word? Critical, I guess, of What the Health. So yeah, I kind of want to go into that as well, of what my opinion of it is. Also with like Dr. Greger's book, How Not to Die. I've read that book a few times and I love it. But there's also controversy surrounding that book. So I just kind of want to get into different like topics about nutrition and plant-based nutrition, obviously, and what I think about different diets and stuff like that. So if you're into that, then that also will work out. So I'm going to kind of wrap things up. If you made it this far and haven't stopped listening to me, you're a real one. Because I know I was kind of all over the place. Just know that my intention is always love and never to be hateful or evil or anything like that. I have such bad anxiety putting this out. Because I know it's going to be met with so much misunderstanding, but I'm hoping that the people who actually understand where I'm coming from are going to come at me with love and support and feedback. And if you have any feedback so far, or if you want to hear anything actually covered on my podcast, you can follow me on Instagram at Kombucha Hour, or you can follow me on my private, or like I guess personal Instagram, which is just Tyra the Taurus, just like my Twitter username, which is also Tyra the Taurus. Or if you are looking for some vegan food inspo, or just like recipes or meal plans or like grocery hauls and stuff like that, you can follow my food Instagram at Another Junk Food Vegan, where I post a bunch of vegan food as well. And if any of you guys go to Sac State, I also have a new club that I'm starting on campus called the Intersectional Vegan Association. So if you guys are interested in joining that, we will be covering a lot of different topics and trying to do a lot on campus for veganism, as well as other intersecting things that also apply. So if you guys are interested in that, we have a Instagram as well. It's let me actually get the correct at, just to be sure. I'm pretty sure it's at IVA at, let me check. It is at IVA Club Sac. And yeah, so that will be coming this spring as well. And yeah, that's it. If you guys enjoyed this, please let me know. And if you guys have any, especially if you guys have any vegans that you recommend for my controversial vegan series, I have a couple. in mind already, but if you guys know of any accounts that you guys want me to try and get on the podcast and kind of dissect them a little bit and try to get to know them a little bit more, if you guys know of anyone, please let me know, just as long as they're not like a white supremacist or something like that, or like, you know, nothing awful about them, just maybe they have a interesting vegan or anything kind of take, well, usually vegan because it's a controversial vegan series, but yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this. I'm sorry that I'm just rambling and this was kind of a very pointless first episode, but next week I will be talking about an actual structured topic. So if you are not into these kind of ramble podcasts, I promise that they'll be a little bit more structured next time, and I will be talking about actual topics and I won't be such a freaking hot mess. And so yeah, thanks for tuning in and I will see you guys on my next episode.